Welcome to Coordinated from Token 204 in Dubai. Today we are from the Dubai venue. We have a very special guest for today's episode. And this is the first of the many episodes which is kind of beyond the EigenLayer ecosystem we are doing. I think if you guys are following us for a pretty decent amount of time, I think 25 episodes we have shipped till now. It's mainly around people from EigenLayer, the various founders, Eigen app builders. But now I think we need to showcase the world that okay, it's Eigen is just not about the the ecosystem itself, but there are stuffs which are possible around the like beyond the Eigen ecosystem. We'll mainly talk about stuffs like not very specific to EigenLayer, but obviously you can expect a few questions here and there. I think today we have a guest which needs no fucking introduction at all. I think you have used his protocol, you have seen him, you have heard a talk of him here and there. And I'm sure like at least like once like in your Web3 tenure, you have seen the logo of this project. I'll like to welcome Pedro from WalletConnect. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for that introduction.
Awesome. I think getting straight right away, I think you need no introduction at all, so I'll not ask for a formal intro. But I'll start like this. Like I think WalletConnect is from 2017. You were building
2018.
2018, yeah. And we are in 2025. Like it's like almost 7-8 years. Like you were building in the space. Like first thing is what has evolved for you? Like it started as a solution to kind of as a wallet providing solution. I think it started with Ethereum. Now with all the chains.
Yeah.
Like how is the journey till now, and what has evolved in all these 7 and 8 years?
Yeah. So I started in 2017, and that's when I started getting into Ethereum and crypto. And then as I was learning about it, one of the big challenges that I faced was the lack of standardization. And was the main motivation behind WalletConnect, because I was building standards for wallets, and WalletConnect was one of the biggest problems, which is the lack of a universal standard or API to connect to all wallets. And that's when I actually published the WalletConnect in 2018 and started this journey. So if you look in these next 7 years, you actually see an improvement on interoperability, composability, and just like more diversity. Not just diversity of wallets, but also diversity of chains, and just allowing more creativity. I think that's the major change that has happened, where there's only not just one way of doing things, but many different ways of working with the blockchain.
Mm-hmm. I think, as you mentioned, it's started kind of a wallet providing solution or solving problems around that. What's the core thesis of WalletConnect as of now? What's the problem statement you are tackling for, let's say, the next few quarters?
Well, in a simple line, it's improving the wallet experience or redefining the wallet experience. Like we think of wallets today in a very narrow perspective, because wallets have been created in a way when Bitcoin started. Like this concept of having a secret recovery phrase, and then you actually initiate and have an address, and then you make transactions, and every time you approve a transaction, you have a pop-up. It's something that we kind of never challenged. We never looked back and said, is this even a good idea, or are we just doing this because Bitcoin did it? And realistically today, we do it without questioning it, but any user that joins the crypto sphere will look at it and think, this is kind of awkward. And this is the main mission of WalletConnect, which is we want to protect the self-custody, the centralization and permissionless aspect of blockchains, but completely challenge that the user experience today is good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's like, I think it's in like WalletConnect Twitter tweets or some other people have just mentioned, like we are very normalized kind of connect wallet, remembering the seed phrase, saving, placing it at some 10 different ways. It might be a little convenient to us, and it might be, I think, since crypto and Web3 is kind of like most people are techies and devs. It's a cloud that, hey, we can tackle a very complex tech, and we are kind of very familiar with it. But again, when it comes in terms of onboarding users, it's like getting a wallet download, getting a seed phrase remember, and then connecting, and all those hassles are like pretty problematic. Like as you mentioned, like if you can like give us a very simple explanation like what WalletConnect is doing at this moment. I just attended your talk where you mentioned like with session keys and stuff, which was I think there in Web2 itself,
Yeah.
that we are already familiar with can do. But if you can provide us a very simple, basic level explanation like what WalletConnect is thinking, so that we don't need this wallet interface or some new type of onboarding frameworks if you guys are thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I like to kind of use the analogy of a login because WalletConnect is just a universal login for all the wallets. And contrary to previous logins, if you use Google login or Facebook login, you have to use the specific login of that particular company. But thanks to WalletConnect, we actually have a distributed network of 600 wallets actually participating in one login for all of the wallets. So this allows many different wallets to exist without the need of exploding with many logins to exist. It's one login to solve them all. Now, what we're trying to actually challenge is that the wallets today, beyond this login or connection experience, they still require the user to take a lot of steps towards actually onboarding. It has to do with the secret recovery phrase. It has to do with the actual approvals of transactions. There's just too much complexity. So the WalletConnect network, being as distributed it is today, can reduce that friction. And one of the concepts that we have actually worked on, and it's now in production, is the concept of smart sessions or session keys that allows you to actually completely abstract the wallet away. You connect to the wallet to the application. It feels like a login, but you never actually have to go back to the wallet.
If you can like kind of make us create a simple like visual framework. Like now, let's say we download a wallet, we kind of as extension, we connect it in the app, we kind of get the seed phrase, we keep it, and all this followed up steps. What will change if we can just tell us in a very simplified way with this thing you are working on?
Yeah, I think one thing that people are very familiar with is, for example, if you have a TV and you want to connect to your Netflix account or any other streaming services, the first thing it asks you is like, hey, I have this like 6-digit or this QR code, use your app to actually connect. And this allows you to now actually have a full experience of your streaming service in your TV without actually touching your phone ever again. But with wallets, what we want to achieve this is not just a Netflix app on the TV and a Netflix mobile app. You actually want the wallet to connect everywhere. You want the wallet to connect to your computer. You want the wallet to connect to your bank. You might even want your wallet to connect to an ATM or anything. Basically, you just have this like password, like this access that is completely invisible to you, but it still allows you to keep control. Like the wallet is almost like this digital passport for the internet, and it gives you control over your identity, it gives you control over your money, your assets, your value. And we want this to be your key to the world, but without the hustle of actually managing this key.
Awesome. One thing you just mentioned that you have 600 wallets in the WalletConnect network. Are you talking about some type of validators or stuff? Or like what are these and how they're helping this kind of the one login which you just mentioned?
Yeah. When I say wallets or wallet partners, we're talking about actual wallets that you can find on the App Store. You search like Trust Wallet, OKX Wallet, or PayPal, MetaMask, like all of these wallets exist and they're in the App Store. They have different user bases, different audiences. They have different flavors of the same thing. And that's perfectly fine. The same way there's multiple banks and you only have one Visa or one MasterCard to connect all of these banks to merchants. What we don't want is that for every wallet that exists, you have a very different experience connecting to an app. You want one unified experience across all of them. On top of the validators, as you mentioned, we call them node operators in WalletConnect network. We actually have 16 today. So we went from 1 to 16 in the last 12 months. It was a massive push of decentralization, and we are still going to double those numbers, but we're decentralizing quite fast.
Just like bringing up like EigenLayer question here, I think from a very vague standpoint, as we know that EigenLayer network provides you that operator set where you can rent operators and do stuff. Is it possible also here in the WalletConnect thing that you went to 1 to 16 over a year, but like there are hundreds and hundreds of operators who are like already there in the EigenLayer ecosystem who are ready to kind of do jobs for you. Is it possible in the WalletConnect network also, or if not, why is the case?
Yeah, it's very easily explainable. Most validator networks or most security networks are based on the fact that the more capital you have locked, the more you're able to actually secure assets in this network. But that's not how WalletConnect works. WalletConnect is very performance based. It's about the uptime. We need servers to be available 24/7. It's about global distribution. We need to have servers in every continent, and we need to have servers that respond very, very fast. So this is how node operators are actually measured. Compared to other networks where if you have certain amount of value, you are able to transact this amount of value, and if you take an action, you get slashed. This is a very like blockchain security concept. In the WalletConnect network is all performance. If you have 24/7 service and you respond under 300 milliseconds and you're available in South America, North America, and Australia, then you're actually getting more rewards. This is how the network operates. And that's why we had to have our own staking mechanism that's completely different from existing staking mechanisms.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we look forward to that. I think which is in process, if I'm not wrong.
No, it's already live, actually.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Then if you can kind of like touch base a little bit, like how I think that the wallet token is also live now. So how it's coming in the flywheel, if we can.
Yeah. So this whole mission started last year, about April. We made the decision to start onboarding node operators. And with our discussions with the first 8 node operators, we learned a lot about how we actually could design our token. And then we actually had the first 8 node operators announced in September. And in September, we announced not only the first 8 node operators, the WalletConnect Foundation and the WalletConnect token. And with this announcement, we also announced that we are actually going to launch on mainnet in November, which we did our TGE in November 26. And then after that, we actually had to make the token transferable, which meant that now people are able to stake it, but then they will earn rewards, but then they can't really get those rewards. So we basically had this 4-month period where the token was non-transferable, which I believe EigenLayer also had similar mechanisms. And basically in April this month, we actually made it transferable and we have everything live. We have the staking, the governance, the node rewards. We even have wallet rewards as well. So we have a very healthy token ecosystem right now, just delivered in less than 12 months. And we have the final step, which is the monetization piece.
Awesome. We might have a separate talk with you sometime later about discussing about the token and how the staking mechanism works. But I just want to keep the conversation focused more towards wallet and the consumer narrative. I think we discussed a little bit about the wallet mechanism, what WalletConnect is trying to do, and the problems with the current wallet ecosystems and the mechanisms are. But like let's kind of focus on the main topic which I want to kind of discuss, which is the consumer crypto narrative, right? I think if we all, the people who will watch the podcast, and we all are aware that how much like CT or the people in crypto are in favor of getting consumers on board.
Yeah.
And like I think infra is needed. Obviously, it can be maybe from any chains or something, because if infra doesn't come up, the space to create better applications are also not possible. But I think we have had enough, in the sense that you yourself for 7-8 years, I think VCs have fueled enough money. They're also expecting some amount of return in that sense. And kind of, I think most people are circling back in the same ecosystem, catering to the same people. And now we kind of need to onboard people outside the echo chamber. And for that, I think UI needs to be very simplified. Wallet needs to be very abstracted. As you mentioned, that they shouldn't feel that, hey, I'm using a wallet, or the Bitcoin way of doing wallet should go away. Want to know, like, if you can point in general, it can be via wallet or something which you were thinking, like top 3 ways how consumers, like not their Web3 focused, let's say consumers, or we can say Web2 folks, can be onboarded to our ecosystem. Let's say how they can use Uniswap, our way, or any other apps which we can say about that.
That's a great way to frame it. And honestly, I've thought so much about this that I have the perfect answer. I'll tell you. There are 3 main problems. Number 1 problem is the requirements to pay fees or gas to use a blockchain. And gas is a big problem, especially on Ethereum, but on other blockchains as well. And this means that every time you interact, you're incurring a cost. And this is similar to using an Instagram application, and now you upload a picture, and now you're paying for the AWS server costs of the Instagram company. This is completely idiotic, and it's completely understandable for a financial application, but blockchains are beyond just financial applications and need to be completely abstraction. And even in financial applications, most Forex or interchange services across countries, they actually abstract fees by having a spread on top. If you want to send money between two countries, they actually say commission free. Blockchain should be no different than that. Once this is eliminated, and this is something that it goes beyond WalletConnect can do, I think it's a big unblock for, the whole adoption mainstream. The second one, and the main one that I think WalletConnect can provide an impact, is all of these clicks and all of these pop-ups, all of these friction points where you actually have to constantly click away. And this has to be completely abstracted, and this is where smart sessions that WalletConnect has developed can really play a big impact. And one of the reasons I think that WalletConnect is playing a good role is that we're not just building this for Ethereum, but we're also building this for Solana, and we're even in talks with Sui applications and other blockchains to provide the same user experience of smart sessions across the whole world. And with the developments around passkeys, which are now present in big applications like Google, Microsoft, and so on and so forth, there's no reason that these become fundamental for the blockchain experience. And the third one, and I think is probably going to be a big shift, and it's going to take the longest, is this shift from thinking from a chain-centric perspective to an asset-centric perspective. What does this even mean? It feels like I'm just throwing buzzwords around. Whenever you interact with a blockchain, they tell you, we're going to use this blockchain, or we're going to use this blockchain. And this is a very technical decision for any user to take. It's almost picking, we're going to use the North America server, or we're going to use the European server. Users don't care. Use whatever server. I don't care. The choice of a blockchain has nothing to do with the user. The choice of an asset or a token, that's something that the user cares. If you want to use euros or liras in Turkey or in Dubai, I forgot the currency in Dubai, but doesn't matter. That's the thing that you care the most. You pick your stablecoin, you pick your token, you pick your NFT, and you really don't care if this token exists in this blockchain or in that blockchain. This is a developer concept, not the user concept. And that's another thing that WalletConnect can help, but it still needs some help from the actual core developers at major blockchains to also make changes.
I think about the chain wars, if I want to specify a little bit on that, how many people think about that is hey, these chains are different nations, and different nations have the different rules and conducts and stuff. It might sound fancy, but it's a hell of an experience for the consumers. Let's say I want to use Ethereum, or let's say Polygon. Shall I use it on Matic? Shall I use it on Ethereum? Or they have minted some other chains. It's, I think, a problem itself for the existing users. Let's say I send Arbitrum, right? Will it be in this chain or that chain or whatever? But I want to know a very little philosophical question, not a very technical one, because you spend a significant time commenting on all these things. Let's say Ethereum and let's say Solana, right? Culturally, they're very different. How Ethereum, they are focusing on research, credible neutrality, decentralization, and Solana is more of vibes, more of I'll say consumer, how they're they can get their investors, I think they're VC funded, so how the VCs can get money. Nothing wrong or bad with any of these chains, but they're culturally very different. Now, how we can kind of make them work together, because they're coming from very different roots, and I personally think that both needs to coexist to for us to progress as an ecosystem. So what will be your thoughts on that? It's, I'm just take an example of Ethereum, Solana. It can be any chain. It can be Aptos, Sui, or any non-EVM chains to EVM.
I think the analogy of chains and countries is really important to use, because different countries optimize for different things. If you want really fast and really dynamic markets, you would go to US. That's where you're going to grow your business the fastest, and that's where you're going to make the most money. And some businesses are better built in that context. But some other businesses might not be built better in there. Like, for example, more regulated markets or more curated markets. For example, the fashion markets actually are designed better in Europe. In Europe, it's actually better to build a fashion business than it is like in US. And that's just kind of a particular niche that actually operates like that. Blockchain applications are kind of similar. Some blockchain applications will need what Solana offers. Some blockchain applications will need what Ethereum offers. Now, what do we actually need? We actually need bridges. We need essentially trade to actually be facilitated between these countries, right? These countries also, like traditional countries, actually also had big trade barriers between them. And then they did treaties, they optimized it, they optimized taxes, and eventually trade between these countries became very easy and it boosted the economy of both countries. Right now, the problem is that blockchains are essentially in these trade wars with each other where they don't want to share value with each other. And the exchange of value between them is actually killing them, So the more value can be exchanged across these blockchains, the more they can actually grow and they can optimize for their use cases.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I think circling back to a consumer-centric discussion, just want to know that what are the 3 consumer crypto apps on your list which you uses daily, or if you have daily interactions, and like kind of why you use them. If you can specify, that would be really great.
Yeah, I think one use case that I thought it was incredibly interesting is the lending markets. And I've been a big user of Aave particularly because there is 2 sides of the market, right? In the past, if you wanted to either earn interest or if you wanted to actually take a loan, you always have to have a bank in the middle. And this isn't a very optimized solution because the people taking loans have a very high interest and the people earning interest actually have very little. And with a solution like lending markets like Aave, you actually have a more dynamic and competitive market, and it allows retail users with as little income as possible to either take a loan or to actually earn interest. So that's one use case that I particularly like. I think that NFTs are not going anywhere. Like, I'm a big consumer of NFTs. I've bought, I sold them, and even though the hype is gone, I still love them as well. And I think the older I get, the more I enjoy the ownership of art. And maybe that's just me getting old, but I really appreciate that ownership aspect.
Art in the sense, like any specific kind of arts, let's some abstracted forms, or let's say it can be as fancy as like Bored Ape and stuff. Like, is it?
I think they're both art. Like, even Bored Apes, even though they're designed for community building, they're still art. Like, they're still a big piece of art. And the other consumer app that I really liked and is not as popular as it is today, it was Polymarket. Like, Polymarket for me was really fun, especially during the elections. Like, it was so interesting to see how the cryptocurrency mechanisms actually allowed for better predictions of like the elections, but even for other things. There's still so many aspects of like economics, celebrities, like popular social topics that just are triggered more efficiently in a Polymarket than you would if you had like a media reporting.
Awesome. Yeah. I think like a kind of ending the consumer narrative on here is I think from CT and by talking with people, it seems that kind of Solana is winning the consumer market narrative. But again, I think one sect of people, they're like, hey, like it's like a gambling chain. There's funds which are not very good for the like people and like all over. Like, what's your generic thought on that? Like, is like I think already stuffs like that exist in Web2. People are consuming it, but want to know about like Fun and other stuffs which are on Solana.
I think that's, look, the longer you are in crypto, the more you realize that you cannot build this tech without the casino. There's this very popular book by Chris Dixon, which is Read, Write, Own. And it talks about this paradox which all builders have to face, which is you are here for the tech, but you also have to build for the casino. Because the casino is what provides the growth metrics for the tech to be built. And even Ethereum, we're currently today at the ETH Dubai event. Ethereum wouldn't be here without the casino. We cannot forget that. We cannot criticize that Solana is just another casino because Ethereum wouldn't be very high on their horse saying, I am all about decentralization. But 5 or 6 years ago, it was all about the casino. Like, ICOs would what made Ethereum successful, and ICOs were the most speculative and had the highest rate of scams ever. But out of all of that noise, there was a lot of value built, and that's where we are here today. And I think Solana will eventually mature out of the speculation, out of the gambling, out of the casino, and will come out as a very thriving ecosystem.
I think since we just picked up the topic of Ethereum and Solana and all, I like based on again the CT vibes, what we are reading, the blogs and all this, how fast restructuring and stuffs are happening. Like you are here for like 7-8 years in the crypto space. What's your thought? I think for sure Ethereum has problems. I'll not want to use Ethereum is in some dire trouble, not want to draw the end of the world picture for Ethereum, but there are issues we are very familiar with. Like what are the things which you think, 2 things or 3 things or even a thing which needs to fix for Ethereum so that they can be again as thriving as possible and it can bring up the entire value of the chain?
So there's a very famous quote, and I really hope that we had an AI agent here to get us the original offer that says, the revolutionaries of today are the conservatives of tomorrow. And this is something that the Ethereum community has to be remembered because they used to be the revolutionaries on a Bitcoin generation, and now they're the conservatives on top of the Solana generation. And I think because we haven't actually woken up as an Ethereum community, that we have become the conservatives, we're still acting as innovators, but acting as boomers. And this is a big, big problem. We really need to change that, and we need to start getting in with the times. The first thing that I would do is, we already became, as an Ethereum community, the most decentralized platform on Earth. We need to start taking a little bit of a step back and not push for more decentralization, but actually push for better user experience. Because we already have the most decentralization. Like, if we keep always optimizing for the same thing over and over again, we can't get the balance between the other things. And then you have Solana, which is not as decentralized and still has excelled at gaining more users. It has excelled at providing a better user experience. It has excelled at getting more scalability as well. This is something that has not been described, which is like, Ethereum has always strived to be the most scalable blockchain, but isn't Solana more scalable today than Ethereum? I would say so. So even in one of the things that were described as Ethereum winning is not really winning anymore. We have to really put a little bit of a pause on this decentralization because we've worked too much on this vertical and we haven't worked on the scalability and user experience. We need to focus on the other two as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I think awesome. This ending the conversation with this one question about the EigenLayer specific again, like coordinated is based on EigenLayer. I think just before starting, you mentioned here restaking and all. It's very complicated and stuff. It is actually, and I think we are kind of bypass the restaking narrative. But like, have you ever tried like thinking of tinkering with EigenLayer or like any applications or stuff which came on your mind so that which can be popped out of using this restake security? If you can share a couple on that. Yeah.
Personally, I haven't had the time to actually play with it. It's one of the disadvantages of being a founder of a project growing this fast. I haven't coded in a long time. But from my very naive concepts of what I understand of EigenLayer, I think one of the things that I would like to see the most is EigenLayer restaking potentially solving the ability for rollups to interoperate with each other. If this shared security could actually fix the fragmentation between rollups, it could be one of the biggest unlocks for Ethereum and for the EigenLayer. Because as I mentioned, like, our problem is not that we don't have good chains. We have amazing chains. They work amazingly. We've scaled them. It's perfect. We don't need more or better. It's great. But the fact that they're fragmented is a huge problem. And if we have shared security, shared sequencers, shared intent networks secured by restaking, honestly, it doesn't matter. Like, users won't care. What they want is to have unified experience across all rollups.
Awesome. I think super thanks, Pedro, for doing this. I think the kind of experience you were bringing in, I think we can do like individual podcast is many things. We can deep dive into wallets, the intents which you mentioned, which are very important, I think, for making the user experience smoother. And I think we all have to optimize for the consumer and like for consumers mainly. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me with the discussion. Thanks again for doing this. We'll love to host you again very soon.
Thanks for having me. This was a great chat.